Okay, so we're gonna continue on. It's actually really weird for me using so much less heat than I'm used to. Feels like I'm not doing anything. The biggest thing is if you feel the need to push down harder with your, well, let me do my intro. Okay, so what's up, guys? I've been making this little cow for quite a while. It's a cutting board. With wood burning, you don't have to stain anything, so it's all food safe, and it just cuts into the wood so it won't fade, things like that. Basically, where I'm at right now, I switched to this little tip here for shading. I turned my heat down to a lower setting, and I was just talking about how I'm not used to having it on such a low setting, but if you're finding yourself pushing down really hard, like change to a higher setting and just work faster, basically because you can have your heat really high, and as long as you're moving quickly, it's not going to burn it a lot. But if you're pushing down, you're going to ruin your tips. This is something that I wish I would have known a long time ago, because I ruined so many wood burners with just the style that I was burning things. Basically I was like really tightening with my vice grips. I was tightening the tips super hard with those. I was also going through and like pushing down like super hard with my like pressure on the wood, and basically all those things. Copper is a super malleable metal, and it it's not strong enough to withstand that when it's like 1,000 degrees of heat. Let's see, 15 watts, 30 watts, however much heat that is. It'll break down and it'll mess up the threads. So I had no idea. I learned that when I got my newest wood burner, which is this one. It's awesome. They put this little thing in there basically explaining, hey, don't do this. And, you know, you'd think it'd be common sense, but it's not always. So basically all I'm going to do, though, with shading, as I keep saying, you don't want any actual lines. You want a dramatic shade increase and decrease, so that like it comes to a point where it looks like a line, but it's not an actual physically drawn line. So I've only started on this area, but you can see I'm basically just coloring in. I mean, that's kind of how I think about it. You just color it in until it looks right. But realistically, you're darkening all the edges and you're coming to the light area. So for example, this udder is in the background, or the background. Since it's not the foreground, it could be pink and the cow could be black, but this is gonna be like, technically the cow would still be darker, but barely, because the perspective. So the farther back you go, it should be darker. The closer to the front, the lighter it should be. And the way that I used to do it is, if you take a picture and put it in black and white is gonna show you no color, just the shades, and that helps a lot for a lot of people, because a lot of times they don't think about, you know, like with the front side of mine, I've got his white face, this is a pink nose, this is pink, so I messed up on his bottom lip because it's way dark, but it is behind, I don't know, I can't decide how it looks, but we'll figure it out at the end. So I'm just gonna color in my edges. And I always start with the darkest spots, because if you start with a lighter spot and you make it really dark, then your whole picture is going to end up looking like a black jumbled mess. Like, I've done that so many times. I actually used to do ink drawings, and let me tell you, it is easy to make those too dark. Very, very easy. And then I always shade in the shape of whatever I'm shading. So this udder, like the bottom, the closest line to my shading is round, so, or, you know, like that. So I'm gonna keep shading in that lined direction, because it's gonna make the picture make more sense. Because if I had like straight up and down lines, it wouldn't look like it's 3D. But I hope everyone's day is going well. I'm glad to have a day off, but it's on a Saturday, so everybody else has Saturdays off, which basically means I only get like an hour to myself in the morning to do this. But hopefully I'll be able to do it a little bit more throughout the day. Hopefully my guy's gonna have something going on outside. He usually does housework. you know, changing the siding and all that fun stuff. So hopefully I'll have a little bit of extra time to do this today. And I mentioned this in another video, but with wood burning, you almost like, the wood almost needs to like warm up to your wood burner. So the first line you do is always going to be like lighter. Some pieces of wood have like sealant on them, so you'll notice that it's like you're scraping something off of the wood. That's normal. The second line that you do in the same area is the one that's going to actually give you the color. So don't go in hot and be like, oh, it didn't make it, so I need to like push really hard or whatever. The other thing is, if you push hard with wood burning, it actually erases your color because it scrapes off the color that you just created. So that's something that's really good to know about. You have to like give it just the right amount of pressure. For people who are impatient, like I am, that's really hard to do. So it was a lesson that I had to learn over a lot of wood burnings. Don't stop me now, having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. That's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. So that's what my udders look like so far. And I'll keep continuing to shade, and I shall return.